Okay, so Ryan Garcia suspended for his role in the Devin Haney bout. Dan Raphael posted this, reported this earlier today, as of when this is being recorded, June 20th. Ryan Garcia and his legal team made a settlement with the New York State Athletic Commission. He has agreed to the following: a suspension of at least a year. That'll probably be retroactive to when the fight actually took place with Devin Haney, which would be April 20th. Forfeiting $1.1 million, and that purse is going to go to Golden Boy. Apparently, some of it can go to Devin Haney, but Haney has his money; he'll be fine. 10K fine, state maximum, and the fight. This is an important point. The fight is officially a no contest. So Devin Haney's undefeated again. Ryan Garcia does not have the illustrious win over Devin Haney. We do not have an upset of the year anymore. Well, at least that's not the upset of the year anymore. And on top of that, Ryan Garcia, I mean, I would say that his name is somewhat tarnished in boxing, and maybe that still is true, but he doesn't seem to give a shit because he is just going to tweet and tweet and tweet because that's what he does. And he has a lot of fans that are going to ride with him. I don't know if people are just here for the antics or whatever the case may be, but he says boxing is dead. He released a statement still proclaiming his innocence. I'm probably going to get that and read a little bit of it at some point. Um, and he's still talking shit that he beat Devin Haney, which there are people having fun with this fight, being like, hey, we saw Devin Haney get his ass beat. There's a lot of ramifications coming from this that I want to get into, and this is going to be brief. It's going to be like 10, maybe 15 minutes tops. Um, Ryan Garcia also said that he's headed for the UFC. I don't buy that at all. But I think that with this fallout that's about to come, Devin Haney getting his O back is going to be interesting. I don't think a lot of people are going to look at him as an undefeated fighter anymore, even though he will be promoted as such. I think a lot of people are going to just remember the fight, regardless of what happened and how it happened and how we got there. Ryan Garcia, A and B samples tested positive for Osterine, was also 3 pounds overweight. So you can't even really rank him as a super lightweight. Me and Chantel, we do the mandatory. Chantel Shan, who couldn't be here because she's working. But we literally ranked today the best super lightweights in the world of boxing, 140 pounds. And neither of us have Ryan Garcia on the list because we were like, he didn't make weight for the Devin Haney fight. He didn't make weight. So it is what it is. And Ryan Garcia is now going to be on a crusade for the next 10 or so months. I actually people may think he's nuts or whatever the case may be. I actually kind of buy the UFC stuff. I think he'd be willing to do it. I don't know if Dana White would be willing to try it, and I don't think it's a smart business decision, but I actually think like he's nutty enough to give that shit a shot. Let's talk about the actual, like the fight for a second, because this happened not too long ago. It's still pretty fresh in our minds, and it was really startling. Going into that fight, I thought that Devin Haney was going to win. Ryan Garcia's behavior was erratic enough leading up to it, and still is. He did get arrested for felony vandalism, like not even fully 2 weeks ago. But leading up to that fight, it was like, yo, like, is he really in the right headspace or is he rope-a-doping us? And then the fight actually happens and he gets knocked down multiple times. Devin Haney gets knocked down multiple times. Sorry about that. Ryan Garcia is peppering him with left hook after left hook. And it's like, why aren't you seeing this coming, Devin Haney? Like, you're supposed to be the slick counterpuncher. You're supposed to be the defensive-minded fighter. You're supposed to be somebody who is timing, who is accurate, who is slick. We've seen you have great defensive performance before. You just had one not long before that against Regis Prograis. What's going on here? And I think people kind of forget, like, Ryan Garcia was also a few pounds overweight for that fight. He looked big. But to whatever credit you want to give him, he did exploit some flaws in Devin Haney. And that left hook in particular was something that we're going to remember most from the fight. I thought Ryan Garcia deserved at the time the decision. I thought that he did win the fight, when it did happen. And what I worry about going forward is this isn't something that Devin Haney is all of a sudden, oh, he's back to being Devin Haney now. He's undefeated. Like, you have to really try to get your shit back here. There's a reported fight. He might fight Sandor Martin next, who's mandatory because he still has a WBC title at 140 pounds. There's talk about him potentially fighting Liam Paro. Eddie Hearn threw that out there. Liam Paro just outboxed Subriel Matias for the IBF Super Lightweight Championship. Maybe Devin Haney could fight him. Honestly, that'd probably be a more entertaining fight for the casuals than the Sandor Martin fight, even though that stylistically could be a very high-level boxing match. There just wouldn't be a lot of punches, so I think the casuals would be infuriated by it, even though I really, really like Sandor Martin and Devin Haney. The point is, we're not sure Devin Haney is going to be the same again. Devin Haney, he's going to run the risk of, in boxing, once you get rocked, you might not be able to recover, period, right? Full stop. Once you get dropped, once you get knocked down multiple times, once you get knocked out, some guys may not be able to fully recover from that. This is the danger that Devin Haney is going to have to move forward and face. He's only in his mid-20s, but he turned professional very early on. I think next year is going to be the 10th year he's been a pro. And Devin Haney is, again, somebody who is reliant on counterpunching, defense, being accurate, and also doesn't have a ton of power. So if he's going to be somebody who doesn't have a lot of finishing ability and then is out here trying to box dudes or outbox dudes, doesn't have the finishing power to put them all away, and is going to be chinny, this Ryan Garcia fight may never, ever let Devin Haney be Devin Haney again. Like, there's a real possibility for that, as young as he is. There's a world where he just bounces back and he whoops everybody's ass again. He becomes undisputed and whatever. Like that, there's a world where that can happen too. He was undisputed at lightweight. But there's a strong possibility, I think, that we may never see him be that level of Devin Haney when he's fighting the elites of the elite, which we hope he does at some point, because ultimately we want the best to fight the best. To me, he's still top 2 in this division, second to Teofimo Lopez, but this division, as Chantel and I outlined earlier today, is a fucking mess. It's an absolute mess in a good way. It's a very deep division. It's a very, 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 very deep division, because at 140, you have Devin Haney, you have Teofimo Lopez, you have Jose Ramirez, you have Liam Paro, you have Jack Catterall, Isaac Cruz, Arno Barbosa. He had a questionable win last time out, but he's still undefeated for whatever that's worth. You have Alberto Puello, who just beat Gary Antoine Russell. You have Ismael Barroso, who has the title. Richardson Hitchens is coming up. Josh Taylor just lost. Like, these are the guys that Devin Haney is going to be in the mix with and continue to be in the mix with, because he is still a champion. But I do think there's a strong possibility that this Ryan Garcia fight could have changed him. We'll ultimately see how he bounces back. And this is the thing. I hope that people don't all of a sudden, hey, Devin Haney sucks now because he has a loss. Sorry about that. Devin Haney sucks now because he has a loss. And I'm going to get back to Ryan Garcia in a second, so don't worry. But I don't think that's like Devin Haney he's not trash now because he lost to Ryan Garcia and all of a sudden gets his own back. So he's undefeated, even though some people would think that he's not really undefeated. But let's say that this loss, because we all saw it, let's just say that it's still a loss that we all saw with our eyes. All of our favorite fighters have losses. Ryan Garcia, you can put him into this category. Not all of our favorite fighters have these things heralded at them, and suspensions and things of that nature. But a lot of our favorite fighters have losses. I'm somebody who grew up loving Felix Trinidad, Miguel Cotto, Roy Jones Jr., among others, right? All those guys had losses that they had to bounce back from in their career until they couldn't any longer. So we'll see how Devin Haney bounces back. As for Ryan Garcia, I mean, there's a lot here, but the simplification is basically this for Ryan Garcia. For Ryan Garcia, he says he's retired, which one is bullshit. I think that I'm not sure how much this actually hurts him because it doesn't seem like he has any interest in being an all-time great. I think he just wants to cultivate a diehard fan base, which he's done successfully. Like he has people, for better or worse, are going to ride for him on social media with anything he does. He released a statement. They're all singing his praises. He's a divisive character, but he's also one of the most famous people in the sport. And we're just in an era now with fame as it relates to sports and anything in general, where the more famous you are, and you have enough talent, I guess, but the more famous you are, you can just sort of get away with anything. Like Ryan Garcia got arrested and it hasn't seemed to affect his quote unquote brand at all. And that's what he seems to prioritize. He can be a world champion in boxing again someday, but I don't even think that he cares that much. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. But when we do see him again in a ring, because I do think it'll happen, like let's just play out the scenario that he comes back into boxing or whatever, and maybe it's at welterweight. He's talking about even fighting at super middleweight. He just be saying shit now. Like this is where we are with Ryan Garcia. He just be talking shit. Um, if he does come back, at least a year retroactive to this fight. So call it next spring, because this fight with Devin Haney took place in April. If that does happen, then it's going to be a massive, massive event, for better or for worse. It's going to be a massive event. A lot of people are going to be there. I'm going to be interested in, covering the fight, watching the fight, talking about the fight against whomever he's going to be fighting against. Maybe I'm part of the problem. But realistically, like he's not a fighter you could ignore, even though we learned he's not ever or not yet going to be at like the Gervonta Davis level. Gervonta Davis is also the best lightweight in the world right now. Depending on how you feel about Shakur Stevenson, Vasily Lomachenko, whatever, I would call him consensus, probably number one in the world right now. But as it relates to Devin Haney potentially, Ryan Garcia potentially returning, that's going to just be a massive, massive deal, regardless of who it is. And if he's sensational in whatever performance he has next spring or summer, he can get right back into a title shot somewhere if he's clean, if he cares, or just in high profile fights. Maybe he's just a guy that takes money fights and he's not necessarily somebody who's in it for the titles, so to speak. But I do think that he's going to come back at some point. It'd be weird if he didn't. And, he could say boxing is dead, boxing is this, boxing is that. But ultimately, he's suspended. He's going to pay for it. Probably got off light. A lot of people seem to think he got off light. I think he could have gotten multiple years. He only got one. And this is an era where guys, even of that profile, they just kind of fight once a year. So not sure how much this is actually going to hurt him. So that's where I'm at right now. Devin Haney, we'll see. If it's Sandor Martin, if it's Liam Paro, if it's somebody else, he needs to win in the worst way. Even coming back from this, I think people will struggle to get out of their minds that Ryan Garcia, even though he was overweight, even though he was on steroids, he beat your ass. He beat your ass. And on top of that, is his chin going to ever be able to recover? I have questions. And hopefully it does, because Devin Haney, is a very skilled boxer. And it'd be unfortunate to see a decision that had to be overturned because his opponent was on steroids. It'd be unfortunate to see somebody young and talented like that never be able to fully recover from that because of the situation of him fighting an opponent that was juiced up. And for Ryan Garcia, hopefully he just chills, bro. Like just tones it down a little bit. And just like, isn't so erratic on social media. Hopefully he finds peace. He would tell you that he has, but hopefully he finds peace. And we'll see what happens from here on out, because there's a lot of interesting things in boxing that are coming up. And another big fight at the 140-pound division featuring Teofimo Lopez next week. So Devin Haney, we'll see if he's ever going to be the same again, if he's ever going to be that guy again. People, if you love Devin Haney, then obviously, or hate Ryan Garcia, then you're going to take Haney's side. If you hate Devin Haney, then you're going to make fun of him for getting knocked down and tweet at him like, oh, we'll never forget what happened. And you'll find his dad, Bill Haney, annoying and all those different things. Like, people are going to feel how they're going to feel, but this is basically where we're at as it relates to this situation. So hopefully everyone emerges from this healthy and we can move on. That's it. Follow the channel, subscribe, Bryan Fonseca on YouTube, and this is what we're doing. So Thank y'all for watching, tuning in, and we'll be back with more very soon.